Debra Morrison, a 42-year financial expert. Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 60 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Debra Morrison, a wealth building expert and champion for extraordinary women just like you. For over 47 years, I've helped women secure their financial futures, and now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution, showing the world that at 60, 70, and beyond, some of us might be a nickel slower, yet we're all just getting started. And our esteemed guest today comes to us from Toronto, Canada, Janice Waugh. Janice is driven by a passion for travel and a deep understanding of the needs of those who journey alone. Janice is the founder, publisher, and a key contributor to Solo Traveler, the leading resource for solo travelers worldwide. Inspired by her own experiences traveling solo, Janice created Solo Traveler to offer practical advice, inspiration, and community to those who set out on their own. Janice, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Deborah. I really appreciate the introduction and being here.
Excellent. Well, this whole aspect of solo travel is completely interesting to me because I often travel solo, and so I am really appreciative. And we are going to get into some of the nitty gritty. So everybody, get your pens and pads out because you're going to want to take some practical notes, if you will, of to-dos and tips and tools. So. Janice is the best known as the founder and publisher and leading contributor to Solo Traveler. She is the authority on solo travel, featured in major media outlets such as the New York Times, CNN, the Globe, the Mail, and she is the author of the Solo Traveler's Handbook. She's spoken at prestigious venues like Smithsonian Institute, travel conferences in the UK, Europe, and North America. And I want you to tell us, I have some notes about how Solo Traveler began, but talk to us about how it really got off the ground.
Okay. Yeah, the origin stories are always very interesting. And I was a freelance writer prior to starting Solo Traveler. So I, talked to many people about the origin stories. For Solo Traveler, got to go back almost to when I was about 10. And my mother talked about traveling. And she talked about riding her bike in the eastern townships of Quebec from hostel to hostel. And to me, that was just, to me, it was romantic. It was romantic in that literary sense of romance, right? And then about 5 years later, I went on a cycling trip for a month in the UK with a tour. I joined people. Yes, my parents wouldn't let me go off by myself at that point. But yeah, cycled over 1,100 miles over the course of the month. It was a great trip. And I never traveled with my family of origin again until my mom turned 80. Right. And so all those years I traveled independently, like as solo. I traveled with partners. I traveled with my family and kids. The longest trip we did was in 2001, 2002, 10 months on the road, homeschooling my youngest. And because my late husband and I had just sold our business. So off we went and did this trip and came back and he was not well. So between 2002 and 2006, when he passed, it was a pretty rough road, rough go. And then after that, I think you have an understanding of the grieving process. And so I was running that roller coaster. And basically 2 years later, in 2009, it was February, Toronto, not nice weather, right? A Saturday, I found the weekends the hardest. And I was sitting on the couch and I could feel myself falling again, going into another cycle of grief. And I thought, not now, not again. I can't do this again. And I basically said, I guess I'm traveling solo. And I don't know where it came from, right? I don't know. But I was a writer. I picked up the computer beside me. I Googled solo travel. It was a very spammy kind of hookup-y kind of site. And I thought, oh, I can, this needs more, right? This needs, a personal voice. And I had the writing skills. I was a freelance writer at the time. I had the travel experience, right? I'd solo traveled before. And I'd done one trip since my husband passed, and I thought, I'm going to try this. And virtually the next day, I talked to my one niece and I said, is this a good idea? And she said, yeah. And so the next day I started. And then I was on Twitter and like, this is 2009, right? This is early days. But it came out of a place of grief. It came out of a place that was difficult, but it was my path out,
That was right.
right? It was my path to discovering new things about myself. And actually I never went through the grieving cycle again. So it's very fortunate. Yeah,
Well, that's a powerful story for right now. In my research, I just unearthed that you first traveled um, so what did I say here? Yeah, you had a fascination with the world and travel, and of course, you have a master's degree in history, I think, do you not?
I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Independently at age 15, valuing education, discovery, and challenge through travel. And your professional path, I mean, you kind of glazed over it, but that's pretty impressive that you and your husband had a successful trade show and conference business in 1988. You developed that, you brought it to, complete a growth trajectory, and you sold that to a multinational company in 1999. Congratulations. That must have been a big milestone for both of
That
you
was a big deal.
right now. So that is superb. So then I see that you're searching for reliable sources, and to your point, you got some slimy stuff, right? You go on the internet and you say, "Hey, what about solo travel?" And it probably wasn't that good, especially in that day. Um,
Right.
and so, following the sale of your business, you spent 10 transformative months traveling with your family, fueling your appreciation for how travel connects and shapes us. So that's still with your late husband, or with your then husband, of course.
Yeah.
Then you underwent the change when your husband passed in 2006. Kids were out of the house. You were able to travel alone and do so at your leisure. So, um, you say you found little helpful information. It compelled you to create the site in 2009 to fill the gap. Wow, this is so powerful. When women find the gaps, if you will, we identify the gaps and say, hey, there's a positive information, and or the information that's out there is like, lackluster. And so we're stepping in and we're going to make this different and more empowering
Yeah.
because you did it and it benefited you and it benefited hundreds of thousands of people because you guys, this really started out pretty humble, a handful of daily visitors on her site, yet it completely blossomed, growing into a public project, eventually a thriving online community, now reaches hundreds of thousands of readers and subscribers worldwide, tips, safety advice, destination ideas, and supporting this solo travel community. Congratulations.
Thank you. I have to say, I remember when, you could go on to Google Analytics and tells you how many people have been to your site in a day. I remember when I broke 10 and I knew that my mother was busy that day. So she wasn't one of them.
Your nine cousins said it wasn't them either.
That's right. Exactly.
Those are fun days. And then how about the day when you broke like 1,000? Was that pretty?
Oh yeah. 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 No, it's quite the journey. It's quite the journey, and certainly the internet was not well understood in 2009. How is this going to, support? How is he going to make any money? If I was, but fortunately I had that freelance travel business, that freelance writing business. So I had my clients, right? And as the blog grew, I let clients go, right? So I was able to dovetail the two so that I could still support myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a situation, financially, we did very well with the sale, but my husband's illness caused other problems. I mean, healthcare in Canada is free, but there were psychological issues with the disease that he had. It's kind of like ALS. It's not understood very well, but and therefore there was a kind of a manic phase, and so financially it hit us hard, and so I had to be realistic
Mm.
and make sure I was making money. I still had one son at home, but he wasn't wanting to travel with me at that stage. But so I had to be realistic. And so the whole thing about having my freelance writing business, bringing money in there until solo travelers started making some money. And it took some time to figure it out.
Right now. And you persevered. So we have a lot of widows in our group. Yes, we do. We have divorcees. We have people that have never married or single for whatever reason. And this is a real step out that Janice has taken. And she is, she's dropped a whole lot of breadcrumbs for us to take part and savor. So we're going to get right into them because why not? So you have a bunch of tenants, and I really am impressed with it. Safety first. Always
Yes.
carry your safety tools, alarms, pepper spray, anti-theft bags, and use situational awareness. Talk to us about that because at some point, if it's a brand new situation, maybe you've done your research ahead of time and that gives you the awareness. Or is it really taking one little step, one little step, one little step?
It's about being patient and not over planning, especially the first days. One thing you do plan is your first night. Your first night accommodation. You absolutely plan that. And you also plan to arrive during daylight, preferably like in noon, early afternoon. Because if you get there and you look at, where you're staying, the hotel might be great, but the location might not be great. You have time to make a change.
There you go.
Right. So it's an important thing in terms of the planning. The rest of the day, though, do not plan too much because you want to settle in.
Yeah.
You want to watch how things work. Do people line up for the bus? Or are they all in a clump? Right? There's like the small things that you see that you learn how things function. You want to talk to the person at the hotel. What's it like around here? How far can I walk in these directions? So there's all those safety issues. Um, then there's also just kind of a fundamental principle about safety. So I have kind of the priorities of safety. So the first is your body, right? Then it's your documents, then it's your money, then it's your stuff. So you always have to keep in mind what matters,
All right now. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you keep in mind what matters, and then and you move through the space with that knowledge. I mean, once you've got that in there, once you've defined it, it's not a complicated thing.
That's
It's not
sweet. Yeah.
complicated at all.
Well,
And most,
complicated.
sorry?
You've made it not complicated for us.
Yeah, yeah. And most of the safety things that you want to do is what you do at home. Right? You don't go places that you without people knowing where you are. You don't go down dark alleys. You don't walk through parks and parking lots that are, at night. So much of it is common sense. And you also use your natural intuition. And one of the most important things is you do not leave the public space. You don't leave the public sphere with someone that you don't know.
Right now.
So there have been many opportunities where it's like, come on, I'll show you. In one place, it was this fellow. He was a guide, so presumably very safe, and he wanted to take me and show me his father's farm, right? And I am 100% certain it was safe, but I declined.
Yeah.
That is taking me out of control. I do not have control of the scenario. Same thing if someone wants to share a taxi with you. You
Mhm.
don't know what that scenario is,
I
right?
agree.
You don't do it. You need to make sure that you maintain control of your own situation.
Love that. All right, so we're going to dig a little deeper. So take time to settle in. So give yourself a couple days to relax, observe. This is really a critical attribute, and learn how the new city works before diving into your busyness. And I'm always an advocate of giving a friend at home a photocopy of your passport if you're doing international travel, and also keep a copy of your passport in a different location than your passport because things happen. And
That's
so
right.
that is something that I've always been attuned to. Now, you say plan, but stay flexible. Research destinations well, but remain open to spontaneous experiences. Opportunities and experiences often arise unexpectedly. So tell us about some of the best opportunities you've discovered that just popped out of nowhere.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Okay. Quickly. Um, well, for example, I believe in going to restaurants and sitting at the bar.
No.
Right? Because then you're going to be talking with people. I was in New York State, upper New York State, and the town will come to me. The city will come to me. And I went to this restaurant, sat at the bar. this couple beside me we started chatting. When their table was available, they invited me to sit with them. I asked them questions about their city that they had never considered. And so they were like, and also the place that we were at, something hideaway. And so I said, who is this person? And then they got the owner and brought them, like all of this, and then they bought me dinner, right? So there
Fun.
are things that happen that are just extraordinary. And then just maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I was in Namibia, and I was on a tour because we're doing safaris and things like that. I was on a tour, but there was this one day in Swakopmund. I can have trouble with that city name. And I took that day. There were other options, but I just took the day to wander the city by myself. And at one point, I see a couple of girls in their pajamas and a house coat. And I thought, what is this, right? And I thought, well, it's quite cold. It's quite colder than usual. So maybe they just don't have jackets here. And then I looked farther and there were more kids. And so I walked up to a group of about, I don't know, 7 kids that were from probably grade 5. And I said, so tell me what's going on, right? Oh my goodness, they were so delightful. They were so excited. It was their first pajama day ever, right? And they were telling me all about it, how it came about. So, what's your favorite class in school? It's German. They were consistent. All of them loved German, like learning German. It was just 20 minutes of delight.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
So
so.
things can happen in so many different ways, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So now we're going to go into traveling light and efficiently.
Mm.
How to pack minimally. Now, some people, this is more challenging than others. So I want to talk about your tips on different climates because it requires us to take clothing that we can layer. You're talking about prioritizing lightweight, multi-purpose clothing that is age appropriate and versatile. Neutral colors. I thought that was interesting so that you don't have a whole lot of, one hot pink something that doesn't go with anything. Comfortable shoes. Comfortable shoes. Did we mention comfortable shoes? Suitable for a lot of walking. And then later you talk about 2 pairs of shoes, comfy sneakers and lightweight flats. I thought that was impressive. I think that pretty much covers that waterfront. So then you talk about travel friendly exercise gear, resistance bands, small yoga mat. Love that. And your favorite moisturizer, travel pillows. And I really like those airplane foot slings. I'm just saying, for those long flights, have you tried those? Those are
I
really,
have not tried them, no.
oh my heart, they are amazing. And so
Interesting.
just get them from Amazon and some of them are just like one big sling, but then your feet slide into each other. No, I have one that have 2 little like holsters and you put one foot there, maybe one foot's on the floor. Oh, it's so good.
Really? Okay, I will give that a try. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah. Now, listen, if you are in bulkhead, you're not going to be able to use it because you
Mm.
have to put it over the seat in front of you. We're going to pause the recording. I'm going to go get mine on show. Hold on a second. So we were just chatting about a foot sling for the airplane, and this is mine. And I really like it, and I'm recommending it. I'm not getting any kickbacks from it, but it's called Everlasting Comfort. And it's black with a little blue trim. And so you hang it on the seat back in front of you like that, right? Boop, you put it over the seat back. And now you can see there's it's so black. There's
Yeah.
2 little holsters. So one leg goes here and one leg goes here, but they don't smush into each other because there's this separation in the middle. Kind of dark in here. Trust me, many of them are like one huge sling, and that's not a good thing. So this is the apparatus for one foot, and this is the other, which is lovely because you can put one foot in and it still stays on the right side, and the other foot is on the floor, for example. And I
Right.
really love and you can cinch this thing up. So, you can raise yourself and your feet up. And I want to tell you, it really cuts down on the fatigue in a long trip.
That's good. That's really good.
So
Because on long trips, of course, you do have the difficulty in terms of pooling in your feet expand, things like
blood
that. If you
clots,
can
all
reduce
that.
any of that, that's good.
All that, yeah, I cinch it up sometimes, and like I close the tray table so that my knees can be up.
Right.
Anyway, that's fun. And then over the shoulder zippered valuable pouches. What's your favorite valuable pouch, Janice, in terms of, carrying your passport or your cash and so forth and so on?
Oh, so well, I don't buy a lot of travel specific products,
Okay.
right? I do have what I use at home is very simple, right? So I have, a small purse like
Okay.
this, and that holds certain things. Um, but I also have a place for so it's your passport, your money, right? Your credit cards that are really critical. And I always keep all those with me.
Yeah.
I don't put them in a hotel
No.
a safe. I don't do any of that. I always have them with me.
Okay.
But in terms of money, I also have money in at least two other places. And one place is always a pill bottle
Nice.
into which I put, bills and then also pills. So that if anyone's, happens to go through my stuff, it'll rattle as if it's just a pill bottle. But I've got emergency money there.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Smart, smart, wicked smart. Excellent. Then you talk about, just general three lightweight t-shirts, scarves for versatility. I love that because a scarf can dress something up for a nice restaurant.
Scarves have many purposes.
Go for it.
Scarves can, if you are going into a mosque or in some place where
Oh
you
yeah.
have to be careful, you can cover yourself, right? I've been in the desert. It
Oh,
protects from
yeah,
sand,
yeah.
right? So and then of course it's got the fashion element. So scarves are so great, and definitely I recommend silk scarves, like pure silk scarves.
Mhm, mhm,
Makes
mhm.
a difference. Warmth when you need it,
And an airplane.
coolness when you don't, right? It's
Nice.
silk is a magic fabric.
It is a magic fabric.
Yeah.
Um, And you mentioned daily supplements, your medications, small first aid kit. Okay, you guys, like, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I was on a cruise ship. I needed a band-aid. It cost me $5.50. One band-aid. So you want to have a little first aid kit with you with some of the
Mhm.
basics. Hand sanitizer, boy, that is so obvious. I
Yeah.
like to have one of those with the hook on it, and so like it hooks
Yeah.
onto my bed. So we're on
Yeah.
the same page. So I love that. And face masks for safety and for, being, trying to avoid getting COVID or anything else that's spreading around.
Yeah.
Mini pillows for back support. My neck pillow is also double for a back.
Yeah.
Baseball hat protection. This is also kind of fun too because, you can kind of pull it down and not be completely obvious and you can run around and kind of look at people without them looking at you. So you talk about extra shower caps. That's smart. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Multiple purposes.
You never know. You never know what the hotel's going to have. All right. So then you talk about rain ponchos and choosing easy to wash clothes and minimizing hair and beauty tool packing. Obviously, some of these hotels and so forth can have it. But then we get into some fine, fine points, and I really appreciate you bringing these out. Embrace solitude. Okay. And then there's going to be another little chapter here about chatting with strangers. So talk to us about this confluence and the embracing the solitude and then reaching out to the strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, solo travel is very interesting that way. Some people really fear being by themselves,
Yes.
right? And it's a fear worth getting over because you get to know yourself better. And it's kind of like the phrase I use is that, you get to know who you are when no one's looking,
There you
because
go.
we spend most of our life with people that know us and have certain expectations of us to act in a certain way. And when you travel solo and you truly spend some time to yourself, you have the options of, when you get up, how fast you get up in the morning, or you read first or do you go out first, right? You've got all of these options. What do you want to do with your time? You don't like museums? You do not have to go to a museum, as opposed to if you're traveling with someone that wants to, right? Those compromises are not being made, and you really get to explore and your true interests, which is a wonderful opportunity.
Mic
Um,
mic drop moment. That's true. Yeah.
It's really important. It's really important. And especially for women who have been accommodating people for so many decades, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side of that is that meeting people when you travel can reveal things about the location, the destination, but also reveal things about yourself that you wouldn't have. So everyone has had a conversation with a stranger where they've told them a part of their life that they don't tell family, certain members or whatever, right? It's one of those things. It's a safe zone. That person's never going to meet, know anyone that I know. And in that process, you you are by talking and telling the story, you are understanding your own story better.
You're opening it right up. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. But it's also about fun. It's
yeah.
also about discovering, that, this person is fun or that, that was a really great exchange. Was one of my first trips as solo traveler. I went to the Lake District in England and I was walking during the day. And then in the evening, I asked, it's a small town. Ambleside is not a large town by any means. That's where I was staying. And I asked, so what's the local pub? Right? So it's a popular spot. There's lots of big pubs, but I wanted the local one. And so it's the Unicorn. And I went there the first night and the second night. And by the third night, I walked in. And I'll
Everybody,
tell you, I was like Norm walking into Cheers. It was like, Janice, right? So, so that becomes a really fun experience. And they played music. They played a couple of Canadian tunes, and like it was just, you know, but that's because, okay, so the technique at that pub was that they had a large bench and then a short side. So it was like a big L, right? I sat at the short side of the L because then I had eye contact with all the other people, right? And so I could, start conversations and get to know people and things like it was fascinating, right?
right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really good. It was really good. So
Totally.
yes, there's both sides of it, the solo side of it and the social side of it.
Yeah.
And you discover that you have. So I'm an introvert, and some people don't believe it, but I am. My late husband was an uber extrovert.
Mhm.
And what I discovered in the early days when I started Solo Traveler is that I had somehow his extroverted ways and skills had been transported to me. And so I started using them. So, one of the things that you find when you're traveling by yourself is that you have skills that you haven't yet exercised because you've been with others and they've picked up the slack.
Right now.
Right. So then you go by yourself and then you start applying these things and you go, who's this? Right? This is interesting. This is a different person. And it's one of the things that people, like when we do our survey, people, it's always about, you know, I discovered confidence that I never knew I had. I discovered abilities I never knew I had. Right. And that's pretty precious because that's not left in the trip.
Right now. It's
That is
completely going to be
brought
everywhere.
home. It's
You're
brought
taking
home
it
with you.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your husband's name?
My late husband is Ron,
Ron.
but I did get remarried in 2017.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Well, it's just when you're selling the story, I'm saying I think Ron was just channeling down and saying, Janice, go ahead, go ahead. You know how to do this. I mean, I think that the veil between here and there is gossamer thin. So I'm thinking that you may have just chatted with him along the way.
I think you're right. When I said I guess I'm traveling solo, it's kind of like it was coming through me.
Yeah, yeah, totally good. Then we talk about eating locally. I love this, sampling local cuisine. It, of course, provides a whole lot of insight and enriches our travel experience. Now, I was traveling through China and we went to the town called Sichuan,
Yeah.
the birthplace of Szechuan food. And thanks be to God, we had a great Chinese guide. And I said, I really like spicy food, and yet I really still want lips as when I'm finished. Uh, so he helped us order, which was so valuable because like one thing that he said was indeed very spicy. I brought it up here, and I'm telling you what, like my nose started to burn, and I was still about 4 inches away. So talk to us about, do you always have like a guide if it's something place like that really has a different kind of a cuisine a menu?
Yeah, I think what this is raising is the fact that there are two ways to travel solo. You can travel solo independently, and you can travel solo in a group by joining a group single,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And there are occasions when both are, either one or the other is the better thing to do.
Yeah.
And when you're going to a place like China, Namibia, where I just was, places like that, where you are not comfortable with the navigation,
Yeah.
right? And uncertain about the cultural things, or maybe it's the food or whatever, then a tour is the right thing for you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really good. But then if it's Italy, right? Go for it, right? It's simple. It's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
But yes, having a guide for certain situations is very valuable. And it doesn't have to be like, you could take a 4 day or a 1 week trip with a guide, and then you have been introduced to the country, you know how it functions, and then you can spend some time on your own as an independent solo traveler. So, these two things blend very well.
They do. And you can also hire a guide just for yourself. I mean, I hired
Yes, you
a
can.
guide to help me climb the Great Wall of China. And the first day it was like 6 million of my closest Chinese friends, and it was pouring down rain. And I was like, I didn't come halfway around the world to, take pictures of 6 million of my closest friends and be slipping, sliding around. So I hired this personal guide for the second day, and he was just meet with me.
Yeah,
And oh my gosh, the world of difference. We got up a half hour earlier, went beyond that which the tourists could fit in with their day trips.
right.
And I took pictures of the Great Wall of China, which are actually pretty good if I don't mind saying so. So these are very, very good tips. And I like the idea. So do you do this? Like when I go to a city that's like around with water, I always take a boat trip around, like Manhattan. That's fun. Take a boat trip, Seattle, take a boat trip around. Then you see the city from the boat. Isn't that fun? And then
Yeah,
oh, I want to go there. I want to go there. And so I think those are kind of fun.
absolutely. And there's various ways of doing it. There are always paid, boats that will, excursion boats and like, but there's usually ferries,
Yeah.
right? That are just transit ferries. And to take the transit ferries are a different experience. You're not getting the talk about the city and things like that, but you're getting to see the people go to work, and you're getting to see how they function, and things. So it's just a different experience. And depending upon your budget, a $3 ferry ride is a pretty good deal.
You've got that right. So let's talk about budgeting. Budgeting wisely. You're keeping track of your expenses and expect some single supplements. Talk to us about the single supplements in travel pricing.
Yeah. So it's getting better, but it's not perfect. So the single supplement when I started Solo Traveler was 100%. Now, maybe I should explain what the supplement is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the single supplement is an extra charge that tour companies and cruises will apply to someone who's booking as a one person, a solo. So if it's 100%, it means that if a couple were to book a cruise and they paid $5,000, it means it's 2,500 each, right? If a single books a cruise, when I first started out, it was $5,000. It was a
Yes.
100% supplement. And we
Yes.
still see these sometimes, but we don't see them as often as they were, as it was. Now we're seeing more like 40 to 50% as a standard supplement. But this has been kind of our goal, one of our advocacy
Yeah.
role at
Yeah.
Solo Traveler. So we have like the only list of tours and cruises from multiple companies that have no or a low single supplement. We do not allow a trip with more than 20% supplement to be published on our site.
Love that.
Yeah, but then we took it one step farther last year. Um, when is this going to be published? This talk.
In the next couple weeks.
Okay, perfect. Because so last year on November 1, we launched Tracy's list.
Yes.
Now,
Talk about that.
Tracy is our editor. Tracy is the opposite of me. She is very detailed, and she likes luxury, and she's picky. And so Tracy's list, what she does every month is she goes through what's being offered on our site, but also on the internet in general. And she researches and researches and researches, and then she reads the fine print, right? And she does all that work for you, and then sends an email out to the list subscribers with what she thinks are the best trips opportunities for solo travelers right now. So that it could be 5 trips, it could be 10. It depends on what she finds, but it's a short list because our list on our site is about 100 trips. So it's a lot to go through. So she gives the short list. This costs $30 a year.
Oh,
So it's, it can save you
well worth it.
hundreds.
Yeah, well worth it.
Yeah. And but with the prices going up on November 1. So so yeah, it's a good time to to
So
have a look at Tracy's list if you're interested.
all right, so if I get in on Tracy's list now, then am I grandmothered?
You are.
Love
You
that.
are. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a great
Absolutely.
value. And thank you. Thank Tracy for us because that is a lot of work right now.
It is a lot of work and people appreciate it. She gets emails. Sometimes they come to me and I have to send them over to her. But yeah, she gets emails from people just expressing their appreciation because it's a lot of work and she genuinely puts her heart into it.
Love that. All right, so I'm really looking forward to tapping into that. So now let's talk about exploring various modes of transportation. We could have a rickshaw.
Yes.
We could have a taxi, an Uber. Now, like apparently in the LA area in the United States, there are the driverless cars running around. I'm trying to see which ones they are. But anyway, there's a name for them. And that's just nuts. But the fact is, these different types of transportation, Waymo cars, they're called here in the LA
Okay.
area. Waymo, Waymo, driverless. Okay, so I'm a little bit nervous about it, but there we
Yeah.
are. Now, talk to us about some of the most fun alternate travel arrangements you've made or found yourself in. You might have booked something and something else arrives and it looks a little different than what you booked.
Um, I'm not sure that I really have a story for this. It's not
All right,
often that I'm looking for a story, but
not
in
a problem.
terms of transit and the like, I really do like taking local transit,
Yes.
and because again, I can start a conversation just about anywhere. Thanks to Ron, right?
Ron, Ron,
And
right
so
after.
on a bus, right? I'll say, okay, I'm going here. Is this the stop? And then that starts, where are you from? And the conversation starts. I really love trains. Train travel is
I
wonderful.
do too. Pullman.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful, isn't it?
it is. It's really quite wonderful. And in North America, we have a lot of great options. Amtrak, I've done Chicago to New Orleans, the city of New Orleans train. You've got these package trains, and they're wonderful. I've done Seattle to LA. They're wonderful. And then in Europe, I've taken overnight trains as well as fast trains and things like that. The thing about going by train is that you get a sense of distance. You get a sense of the country. Now,
You
it's
do.
a funny thing to say because when train travel came in, okay, this is my history thing coming out, right? But when train travel came in the 19th century, it changed the sense of time because no one could travel that fast before.
Of course.
So the sense of what time is and distance changed. And it changed again when flights became a standard.
Of course.
So now train is the slower mode, and we get to have an understanding of what the distance is between here and there and what is between here and there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love to have the window seat. I'd gawk all around. I'm learning a lot. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you go into a city, but when you're coming into the city, you're typically going in the back door of the city, right?
Interesting.
So you don't see, all the pretty stuff they want you to see. You're actually seeing how the city functions,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So I think it's a very interesting way to travel.
I think so too. I love train travel. My dad worked for the railroad, so we had a free pass, but we were also worked on the farm, so we didn't use it too much. But when we used it, oh, that was amazing. And when
Yeah.
I was in China, trains everywhere, like, and you would go, everybody would have their ramen noodles, your little soup.
Yes.
Like seriously, that was just a
Yeah.
staple. I mean, you didn't, you had a shirt, you had a ramen noodle ball. And you would go back in the train and hit the lever and the hot water would come and now you'd have your meal. Um,
Amazing, eh? Yeah.
Talk to us about engaging and finding people who share your passions. You're in a group, you're in a city for a while or in a location right now. You might want to, look and see what book clubs or sports clubs or chess
Yeah.
or Mahjong or whatever. And so the local events, the festivals, the sports events, and then the kind of the book club kinds of endeavors. Talk to us about how you get into that. Do you use the internet and say what's available in this town, or you ask the hotel people, hey, what's available? What's the best idea?
Yeah, there's lots of ways of doing that. Typically, before I go, there's two things I do. I check meetup.com
Yeah.
for the destination, and I see what their top meetups are, because that will tell me something to, it may not be my, if it's not of interest, it's not of interest. But typically there's something there. So when I went to Hong Kong, the top, it surprised me. The top meetup group was a hiking group. And I discovered that hiking is a really big deal in Hong Kong, which I never would have thought,
Wouldn't
right?
have thought.
So certainly meetup.com is one. And then the other is guides, the city run free guides where people like local volunteers volunteer to take a guest around the city, and you can usually say, I'm interested in architecture, I'm interested in history, whatever it is. I say, show me your home, show me your local community, not their home but their local community. And that ends up being really fascinating. I've done that. The two that really stand out, I've done this in many cities, but New York and Paris both really stood out. Where I actually ended up in the woman's apartment and had lunch with her and her husband. And with the fellow in New York City, we went out to a restaurant and had his favorite pizza. And of course, I paid for the lunch,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
so wonderful, right? And it was the Upper West Side, and he was pointing this out to me and that out. It's wonderful. But if you're not in your own language, if you can't speak the language, this becomes a different thing.
It
In
does.
which case, two things. Look for a language exchange,
Yeah.
because people always want to speak English, right? So if I was in Bordeaux, and there's a group there called Blah Blah Bordeaux. I just looked for a language exchange. And so I went there, and people wanted to practice their English. They could practice their English on me. I'm meeting locals. I'm learning more about the city, right? And they're getting what they want out of it. And that helps me integrate, right? And look for English bookstores. English
Yes.
bookstores are all over the world, and they will have events for the English speakers in the town, right?
Yes.
So there are a lot of different things that you can do, but meetup.com and the hosting services are really a great place to start.
Exactly. And as I understand it, these are just regular AirPods, but there are apparently AirPods now that will translate into whatever language that
Yeah,
the country you're in. And I think that's amazing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how do
And
you use this internet, Janice, when you go? Do you buy like a SIM card at the airport? Because you need to have internet in order to get to meet up and so forth and so on.
yeah, I now use an eSIM. So the eSIMs are less expensive in my experience so far, and fairly easy to implement. So yeah, I use an eSIM. I did go to when I went to Namibia. The eSIM was not possible in Namibia, so I bought a SIM card, and then I discovered that the SIM card was not compatible with my North American phone. I'm pretty sure that it was the issue of a North American iPhone versus a European iPhone,
I see.
that it really didn't work. So I used the local Wi-Fi, and it was enough. But yes, I absolutely believe that people should have digital access, and eSIMs are probably the way to go at this point in time.
Okay, so some of our people don't know how to get an eSIM. Tell us.
Oh, so I mean, basically you look it up on the internet, and you will get a number of possibilities. I'm just going to have a look and see which is the one that so there's Allo,
Okay.
ALO is one that I've used, and I've also used UBG, UBIGI. I've used UBG more often than Allo, and they tend to be a pretty good deal.
Nice.
and not too difficult to set up.
Okay.
They're pretty straightforward.
That's really good. And you buy them for a certain number of days?
Yes, it might be 7 days a month. They'll have different programs and different volumes. So, if you're not streaming video, you don't need that much,
And you're
right?
not doing that.
But it
Yeah.
does mean that, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, your communication tools other than your regular texting and calling will work,
Yeah.
right? Because if you text and call on your regular phone, you're running up a bill.
A big bill.
But
Typically.
WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, even Instagram messaging. I mean, there are other ways of getting in touch with people, and that's just using the data that you get through the eSIM. So you've got total contact
Right.
as well, which is great.
I certainly espouse the everyone using and getting a WhatsApp account, especially if you're traveling internationally. It's so convenient. You can phone, you can text, you can video, you can do a lot. So let's talk about knowing in advance about your credit cards. Which of your credit cards charge an international conversion fee, and which of them are more expensive, and which of them are the least expensive? Where to get local currency. Everybody lands in the airport and they just run over to the currency thing. And I'm thinking, oh, not so fast. What's your experience with currency and where we should get it?
Yeah. So you should always, travel with some American dollars.
Yes.
It's at least 100. It's good to have it accessible. Put
Yes.
it in the pill bottle if you want, right? But have some of your own currency. I typically use my credit card, and yes, I have a credit card for home where I collect points, and then the other credit card has no transaction fee. And so, and when using it, sometimes I'll be asked, do you want it in Canadian dollars or do you want it in our dollars or their currency? You choose their currency because otherwise they're deciding what the exchange rate is,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And you could be hit higher. So yes, do a little bit of research. It's not that difficult to find a no transaction fee, a credit card for international. And then I typically just use the ATMs, right? The
Mhm.
local ATMs. Make sure that your credit card's compatible. Most of it, it's usually pretty easy to do so now.
Okay.
And I get money, but not at the, like, I think you're right. Your instinct to go to bypass the exchange booths at the airport is right.
Yeah.
They take a premium.
A big premium. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then when you do the ATM, as I understand it, then your local bank that's running your credit card is hopefully giving you a good exchange rate. It's not just willy-nilly whatever Western Union is choosing to charge you.
Yeah, exactly. Now you are charged a transaction fee typically
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
each withdrawal. So you think in terms of what do you really need,
Okay.
right? You want to have enough on you that you feel that you're covered, but you don't want to have so much on you that you feel vulnerable,
There you go. There you go.
right? So
And I
that,
also, yeah, that's a good balance. And I think you want to have it just a little extra because if you get in a little bit of a pinch, it's nice just to be able to tip somebody,
yep,
and get out of there.
absolutely.
Now, let's talk about trip insurance. I have this emergency insurance, which I've always carried just because, like, they always cover like a lot. And I knew a gal that got injured in an international trip, and it wasn't pretty at all, and it was massively expensive.
Yeah.
Thanks be to God, she had emergency, international insurance. What kinds of insurance do you typically recommend, Janice, and do you use?
I have never gone out of the country without insurance.
Yeah.
I think it is the most important investment. When you are looking at the cost of a trip, that insurance should be part of that cost. It's not a negotiable thing in my mind, right?
Okay.
But it's often not that expensive,
It's not. So you're
right?
talking plane, and what else? Then do you have like an emergency insurance policy?
For me, it's the health is the
Health.
most important.
Right, right.
In some cases, I want to self-insure for the loss of luggage or the delay or whatever. I'm happy to, I can cover those things, but I can't cover $10,000 worth of medical care on the ground
I know.
or 30,000 or like it can get really crazy.
It can.
So it's important. I think that the health and coverage, emergency coverage is the most important. Now, really important. It's important to look at the fine print. So it's very there's two different it's very different between Canada and the US. In Canada, you are filling out these surveys, these questionnaires to determine what the risk is and where you've got pre-existing conditions so that it's very clear at the front end. What I've seen in the US so far is that they'll tell you you're covered for this, and this, and how much, 100,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can buy that without filling out a questionnaire. And so you then need to read the fine print to make sure, is your condition, like what is their terms for pre-existing condition, right? And are you truly covered? So
Good
one of
point.
the things about a pre-existing is that you might have a heart problem. It's been under control for a very long time. Your medication has not been changed. That may not be considered pre-existing,
Wow.
right? So it's really important to know. However, if you have that heart problem and 2 months ago your doctor says, I think we can reduce your medication, now you're unstable, and that's a pre-existing that they worry about. So
Really good.
yeah, so
Another
this
mic
is
drop.
something. Yes. So we have a an article on our site about insurance, travel insurance for seniors. And I think it's really worth watching. And there's a video at the bottom where I interviewed an American expert, the president of travelinsurance.com, and a Canadian expert. And they talk about the whole pre-existing condition piece. It's very important to consider because
Thank you.
some people feel that it becomes impossible, that they can't travel because of a situation when they absolutely can. Or some people might think, oh, my medication got reduced, therefore I'm at no risk. Whereas the
I'm good.
insurance company is going, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a post on our site that probably would be very worthwhile reading for most people.
Right now, I think pretty darn important, if not the most. I always like to have a great pair of sunglasses, polarized sunglasses. I mean, you look at a sunset or you look at a body of water with something other than like a Maui Jin or some really nice polarized, I think that you're really missing a lot of what you're going to
Yeah.
see. So that's always,
Polarized is important. Yeah.
yeah. And then frequent flyer memberships. Like I'm a 1K member with United, and I just generally try to fly United and their partners. Or do you travel so much you split it out and you're a prestige flyer with a number of airlines?
No, I try to stay with one as well.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, there are games that you can play to win points and do all this. That's not how I want to spend my life.
Okay, fair
Right?
enough.
So I keep it simple. That's just my approach.
No worries. So we're women here, and let's talk about clothing materials because you have some really good suggestions. And of course, we've all seen those Facebook ads on Merino wool, but you really love it, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the natural products, merino and silk, those are two really wonderful. The fabric is going to really treat your body well. In Namibia, it was cold one night, and
Yeah.
merino wool was really comforting, right?
Helpful.
So, it's a little bit more difficult in terms of washing, right? The silk is not. And so that dries really quickly. The merino wool it depends upon what you're doing and where you're going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then moisture wicking clothing, if you're hiking and so forth, that's important.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It just keeps you fresher and healthier and happier.
Yeah.
Right.
Right now. And you even talk about bamboo fabrics. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's a lightweight, soft fabric. It's really it's a great new product that's on the market over the last few years now, and it does travel really very well. Yeah, so for t-shirts and things like that, it's really good.
Excellent. And you say steer clear of the heavy cotton or the pure linen. It wrinkles and it doesn't dry so fast. So thank you for those tips. So this whole thing has been completely rich. Your efforts with solo travel have helped shape how the travel industry engages with solo travelers. I got to think that they're kind of like at your beck and call to kind of, include them where you can. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to see that list of cruise companies and others that do not gouge us single travelers with a supplement. So your mission remains focused on supporting and empowering people who love to travel alone through practical advice and inspirational stories. Your work has helped promote solo travel, especially for older adults and women, and you provide the resources as we have discussed. Now, your other contributions, you are a massively active community organizer. You've helped marginalized people achieve financial stability
Yeah.
and life satisfaction in Scarborough, Ontario. Talk to us about that.
Okay, so I was in Morocco when COVID was declared,
Mm.
and I came home knowing I was going to be grounded.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I had a runway, should we say, for volunteering. And I volunteered at a food bank and I met many people. And I thought, there's talent here. Another fellow and I co-founded North Star Startups. It's
Yes.
a full-on charity with, tax status, etc.
Yes.
And what we do, we're basically a business incubator, but we're a business incubator specifically for people that are on social assistance of some sort, that are using food banks, that are struggling, and we help them start small service businesses. So these are things like dog walking and cleaning, and small motor repair, or gardening, and things of this nature. These are not complicated businesses, but people can make a living from them,
There you go.
and so it's about dignity. It's about more financial freedom, confidence. And so that's what we do. We help people start these businesses. And what I really love is that, I mean, I have learned so much about poverty in this experience that I would never expected. And so we have no end date for our program. People enter our program and they're part of a community, and they can stay with us for as long as they want. And it's because how complicated life can be.
Yes, it is.
And so we've had people kind of go through different, phases with us. And it's a very rewarding and very satisfying,
Mm.
volunteer work.
Mm. And it sounds like people can come back. It's gonna come back home if things get challenging. Come back home.
Absolutely.
Oh, that just warms
Absolutely.
my heart. That's an amazing thing, and I thank you and your co-founder of North Star Startups. This is amazing. If you're in the Canadian marketplace, and many of our listeners and members are in Canada and Ontario in specific, and I certainly welcome you to join Janice and support financially this endeavor. It is
Thank you.
really, really valuable. So, tell our listeners and viewers how they can best reach you. Give us your website. We'll have it in the show notes, but let's just
Yeah.
have it here on the vid.
Okay. So our website is solotravelerworld.com.
Yeah.
Known on Facebook, where there are 270 some odd thousand members of our Solo Travel Society. So it's kind of, yeah. So it has a community feel.
Yeah.
People put up questions in there. They actually give their questions to Tracy, who moderates the group, and then she'll post the questions, and then people jump in. We've had people on the road putting questions, actually, one was in particular. She was, I'm in London. It's my first solo trip. I don't know what I'm doing. Right? Oh my goodness. Oh, the community just came and lifted her up. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. So, anyways, that's Facebook, the Solo Travel Society. On Instagram, it's just Solo Traveler. And on our website, you will see tours. I can't remember what it's called. Just maybe it's trips and tours or something of this nature in the menu line at the top, and that will give you that whole list of companies that we have. There's a searchable version of that, and then there's also Tracy's list again in the menu at the top. You can click on Tracy's list. Oh, and we also republished a travel course, a solo travel course that we
Yes, I see this
wrote
course.
it.
Let's talk.
Yeah, I wrote it in 2018 at first, and it was called the Wits and Wonder Travel Course, to travel with the wits of an adult and the wonder of a child. And but it has been rebranded by smarter minds than us, and it's now your ultimate solo travel course.
Wow.
And that's just come out in the last month.
Oh,
So
that's so
it's
good.
been totally reworked. It's got video. It's been made very fancy. But it's got very solid advice. There's over 600 posts on the website. So to put everything into a course that's logical it's very helpful for people.
I love that. I also love Wits and Wonder though. So
Yeah, I like that too.
I know. We're going to put all of this in the show notes, and I can't thank you enough. This has been so rich and practical. Many of us are really loving travel, and these tips and tools, I mean, a couple or three mic drop moments. I hope that each of you caught it, and if you don't, listen again. So Janice, so much of a pleasure to share
Ah,
this time with you and for you to share your wisdom with us. And so thank you for that.
thank you very much. It is my pleasure.
Excellent. And thank you, viewers, for joining us on the We Can Do It Women show. Remember, I see you and I value you, and your greatest chapter is just beginning. So
Mm.
if today's episode sparked something in you, I invite you to check out your the little embers that are likely aglow inside and wave a fan over them to see if travel might be among those next steps that you could find completely empowering, fun, and expand your vision of yourself, your confidence level, and the world, of course. And Janice's advice is that which I would certainly suggest you're taking under advisement. And until next time, I always want to say, pay attention to your money and it will surely pay you back. Thank you and good night.